See here. The next one we're going to get to, since you were a dual threat QB in the NFL, quarterback in the NFL, who could run, you were one of the first running backs, like the first running quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. How has the game of football evolved since your time as a quarterback? And obviously now running quarterbacks, the style is coming back again, but there was a long period there where it kind of running quarterbacks weren't really seen very much. So how has it evolved since you have been a quarterback in the NFL?
Well, I think what opened it up for everyone was Fran Tarkenton, who was just an absolutely great running quarterback for Minnesota. And that is pretty much exactly what I was. We were probably the same speed. I could outrun most people. And therefore running became very important to me. And a running quarterback, there is difficulty for a defense because there is no planned offense for a running quarterback. He goes where he wants to go. And therefore the defense then has to make changes immediately. And they form a weakness in their defense when a certain player moves going into a zone where he shouldn't be, leaving a receiver open because the man is running with the football.
Yeah.
So we really had that as a backdrop. And the thing that happened to the quarterback running situation, one thing was the money. Players were getting later. Now players were getting so much money that they couldn't take a chance on injury.
Yeah.
And so they would rather see the quarterback take a knee than get hit by three guys and break his nose, his head, his shoulder, whatever. And so they were trying to convince people not to run. But the way that I got where I was going was to run that football. So as a matter of fact, I go back to the very first game I played for the Jets. The coach had asked me to be a running back because Namath was going to play quarterback in this first game, which was a rookie game with Boston. And I was a running back. And I ran in that game for 119 yards, which for any running back, that is a good day. I threw two halfback option passes, rolling out with the ball after Joe gave it to me, and then I would up and throw a pass. We completed two of those, the only two that were attempted, for 60 yards. And I scored a touchdown, and I was our punter, and I was our kicker. And so the headlines the following day said, Bob Schweickert is the next Paul Hornung. Now you have to know who Paul Hornung was from the Green Bay Packers. And he could run, he could kick, he could throw, he could do it all, but he played as a running back. So that's what I had then to look forward to. I had a great start, but Joe was going to be the quarterback, and I was going to, if I fit in, I would be initially a running quarterback, a running halfback. So I'm going to tell you another story that a lot of people do not know. And that is, during the second year while I was there, we had a team called the Jersey Jets. Every professional team had a practice team that operated somewhere near them. And we were the Jersey Jets for the New York Jets. And Weeb sent me over there on every night. I practiced with the Jets during the day, 11 o'clock until, say, 2:30. Then I got in my car, drove to New Jersey, met with the team at 8 o'clock. We practiced until 10:30, got back in the car, drove home, went to sleep, got up, went to the Jets practice at 11. And he sent me over there as a running back. And so he wanted me to get the practice of running, not necessarily as the quarterback. So we went down to play against the Washington Redskins farm team. And we had a quarterback and I was a running back, but we were losing 28-0. And my coach came to me and he says, would you play quarterback for me? Well, now that's like asking you if you want an ice cream cone or whatever. I said, sure. I had been practicing as the second quarterback because the second quarterback was injured.
Yeah.
And so he put me in the game in the fourth quarter. We were losing 28-0. and I ran for 3 touchdowns in
Wow.
the fourth quarter. Yes, we lost. But all of a sudden, here's this running quarterback that belongs to the New York Jets, and he's running as a halfback at first and then quarterback. So
Mhm.
it might have been the worst thing that I could do to play quarterback for that team, because people knew I could play quarterback, but can he be a running back?
Yeah.
And so, but in that first game that we played, and I rushed for 119 yards, I could do it. I wasn't
Mhm.
as big as some guys, but I was pretty fast, and I could maneuver through a hole. But usually, as a quarterback, I didn't have a hole to run to. I ran wherever I wanted to run, and
Mm.
therefore I had much advantage over the defense. So that was one of the real great stories, that I had a great year. We went undefeated. I was the lead rusher in the league
Mhm.
and the leading passer. Now
Right.
you got to think about that for a second. He wants to find out if you can still play. Okay, I'm now
Yeah.
20, whatever, 4 years old, and I was doing quite well. And you would think that a guy, and we had lots of guys pulled up from that team, placed on, that went to the Super Bowl with the Jets, coming from the Jersey City Jets.
Mhm.
So I did everything that I knew to do to show them what I could do. It's either good enough and you're going to use me, or you're going to let me sit on the bench. Whichever way this works
Mhm.
out, it's up to you. And so we kind of had to make that decision. And you asked me, and you're going to ask me for some of the good things and some of the bad things that happened,
Yeah.
or the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And Weeb came to me one day. Don Maynard was our all-pro receiver, and Don Maynard dropped 2 touchdown passes in a game that we ended up losing. And so he decided he was going to embarrass Don Maynard, and he was going to
Mhm.
put him on the bench, and he was going to put this guy named Bob Schweickert in his position, running with
Yeah.
Namath and George Sauer, split in George Sauer, Namath, and me. And he says, I want you, don't worry about a thing. He says,
Mhm.
you can drop everything thrown to you. I'm not taking you out of the game. You're going to play the whole game, and we're going to see what kind of talent you have. And I said, okay, that makes sense to me. So he announced it to the world, and every day the newspapers were out at Shea Stadium doing interviews with me, that I am going to finally get a chance to show what I can do, even though it's as a flanker back. I could run, I could catch. And so you got to put yourself in my position. It's going to be one of the greatest days of your life.
Yeah.
And when he announced the starting lineup, he announced Don Maynard.
Oh, wow.
And I did not play one play. It's
Mhm.
not that I didn't get to play no matter what. I didn't play at all. And I
Mhm.
didn't drop a pass in practice. And the fans, one of the things I can never forget is 65,000 or 30,000 or whatever it was. The place was jammed, and they were saying, we want Schweickert.
Yeah.
We want Schweickert. Now you can imagine how I felt sitting
Yeah.
there on that bench, expecting to play the whole game and not even getting to walk onto that field as a receiver for Jam.
Wow.
So you can just imagine what that would do to you. However, you can't kill the desire that I have in me.
Mhm.
Coming from nothing, coming from a 4-room school to a team of 16 players, to a team of 50 players in the major college ranks, and then going to the Jets, you can't kill me. You can't take it out of me. I know I'm good enough. I know I can do this, and I am going to continue to try. So that was a bit of frustration for me.
Mhm.
It also, I have to tell you, put different views of my head coach into my
Mhm.
mind. Am I going to believe him, or am I not? And there's a story. We were in a meeting, and Weeby Bank has passed on, but Weeby Bank stood in front of us, and he said, this week at Shea Stadium, the players are not going to park in the protected area under the stadium.
Mhm.
They're going to park. We're going to park across the parking lot at Shea Stadium. They're going to fence it in for us, and the police will escort us back and forth. Now, I want you to just think about that for a second. Who's going to park in our places? The
Yeah.
press. The press
Oh, yeah.
is going to park under the stadium in totally protected for cars. Joe had his car cut up. He had a convertible. He lost the window in the back of his car a number of times. People just cut it out and took it home with them. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm a quiet guy until I have something to say. And I told Weeb, there's not a sound in the place. And I told him he was full of it.
Mhm.
Here it comes out of my mouth. I got all my players. There's probably 55 of us. And I told him honestly what he was full of.
Mhm.
And the place went silent. And then people realized what I had done. And he started laughing.
Mhm.
And now every player in the place is laughing. And we got up after the meeting to leave, and everybody came over, patted me on the back, and said, "Thank God somebody had to say it. I'm surprised you had the guts to do it, but I did." And guess where we parked that week? We
Down
parked under
below.
the stadium.
Yeah.
We're supposed to, because he stood up for his players finally.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway. There's a story that most people haven't heard. I will promise you that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's interesting. Those are some crazy stories. I mean, like especially if you're parking in the public, especially if somebody like realizes for like somebody like Joe Namath, he would get his car, especially for fans that like really wanted, he would get his car completely ransacked. So
That's very true.